All right, check one, check two. I think we are live. We're going. We can see sound. Check one. All right. We are moving. Moving and grooving. Hello, welcome to the IBM Data Analyst Professional Certification and 10-week boot camp. My name is Alexander Booth. I'm the head program instructor and head facilitator for this course. This is the April 2026 course running through June 2026. And this is our last live session. It's our last week. Crazy. Our last live lecture. So this is week 10. We're wrapping up our Capstone project this week, going through the deliverables, the submissions, and everything that we need to do to close out the course. So let's get after it. Not too much in my slides today. Again, just hello, welcome, etc. Note that for the last half of the week 10 deliverables, we'll be interacting with Google Looker. And so we got some examples here. Also, for those of you following along, obviously I am not new, but I took over the boot camp in week 5 about halfway through after the old instructor or the last instructor had a medical emergency. So I am back recording the past lectures. I re-recorded back lectures 3 and 4 and 5 or whatever. So I wanted to let you know that I do have week three's lecture up and ready because in week 3 we did play around with Looker and Cognos and spreadsheets and all that stuff. So I back recorded and published that lecture as a resource for your capstone. So that should be in the forums as well as on YouTube and Zoom and everywhere else that you get your recordings. So you should have a reference for our intro to Looker there. Let's start going through it. Week 10, kind of a lot of notebooks, but they're all pretty quick. I don't think we'll do every single one, but as always, I've already run and backed everything up on my GitHub earlier this week. So you'll see all of the notebooks for week 10, creating the data visualizations and creating our histograms, box plots, all that good stuff. So we'll run through a couple of those examples, and then we'll do one of the Looker dashboards and then wrap. I have a hard out in probably about 50 minutes, so we'll keep this to a tight hour. All right, let's get after it. Week 10. We'll kind of click through the media sets and then get to the activities like we normally do. All right, so for our capstone project, if you remember, we are taking on the role of an associate data analyst analyzing the Stack Overflow survey results. In week 9, that was our engineering and wrangling week. We brought in a bunch of data from the Stack Overflow survey, cleaned it up, dealt with null values, imputations, feature engineering, normalization, all that good stuff. Then we did some exploratory data analysis at the end of the week where we looked for correlations, outliers, and understanding really the data domain, right? So we have our own domain expertise and the data distributions. So we're going to take that into week 10 where we're building out our consumption layer. We're going to practice building a lot of static visualizations that can be consolidated into static reporting, which again is a good consumption layer output for data analysts, whether it's white papers, PDFs, slide decks, whatever. So that'll be the first half. And then in the second half, we'll wrap up Looker, which will be our interactive business intelligence deliverable. Also, I guess we'll start with submitting everything. To submit everything, you'll be creating a final slide deck, and I think I have it. I think I put it in week 9. Let me see if I can grab it. Yeah, you can download it from the forums in 1012. That'll give you the PowerPoint presentation. I don't care if you do a PowerPoint, a slide deck, a Canva, whatever. You also have a lot of freedom with the slide deck. We'll give you some skeleton work here, but feel free to customize it however you want. You can add in your own comments or text or whatever. I feel like, yeah, our skeleton here is pretty bare bones as well. But you'll see it's pretty cut and dry, right? Fill this out, add in your executive summary methodology, right? Walk through some of your data engineering and data cleaning stuff. That'll be in the methodology, and then we'll get into the visualizations. So all of these static graphs that we're going to be doing today, it looks like we got some bar charts we're going to be making. We're going to be looking at program languages, databases, and popularities. Again, you can add in other graphs too. Any graph that you create in week 10 is up for grabs here. I like the bubble charts, which we'll go over. And then the dashboards, you have to create a few different dashboard tabs, and again, just screen cap it and shove it in here. The one extra piece to note is that in your appendix, I would like you to link to your GitHub if you're using GitHub to back up all the notebooks, or your Looker link if it's public. Just include any public supplementary materials so I can give you full credit or partial credit as I grade through these. I don't think it's required to upload the notebooks to GitHub for this course, even though I highly prefer it. So just note that usually I'd recommend backing up all the notebooks into a public portfolio like GitHub so that you can share it off in the world after after the class is over, if you're job hunting, etc. All right. And again, if some of these questions don't track to the labs, don't really worry about it. Use the labs as your source of truth. Your goal is to consolidate the results of the labs into a slide deck here with your findings, context, and insights. I don't want this to just be a slide deck of screenshots. I want this to be a slide deck of your context, your analysis, and your conclusions, right? Really drive home those actionable insights. And again, how are you going to submit this in the IBM classroom if you're following along live with the actual classroom and not on YouTube or something? You're going to go into 1013 and you're going to do a file upload. So you're going to upload your slide deck and then from there, upload it as a PDF. And then from there, I can grade it. And if you click into GitHub, I can grade your GitHub. My expectation and hope is that you do have all the notebooks from week 9 and week 10 backed up in GitHub, and you include a short README or executive summary or write-up report to consolidate or to complement your slide deck, right? Again, if I am looking to hire you, right? If I'm looking at your public portfolio and it's just a slide deck, right? And I'm not going to scroll through a slide deck. So I want to see code so I know you can actually write the code. And I want to see like some executive summary or report so that I can quickly see that, yep, you know how to analyze this information and generate actionable insights and data-driven decisions from it. I know there's a lot of notebooks. I think there's like 15 in week 9 and another like 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Another 9 in week 10. So you're almost at like 25 notebooks. But try and get them all into GitHub as you go. And hopefully you can work through all of them. All right, let's get into the media sets. Like I said, I won't have time to go over every single activity in week 10, but we can get through hopefully a decent chunk of them. All right. So yeah, welcome to the week 10 capstone. And this week, we're going to be focusing on education and making sure that we're able to generate actionable insights from the developer experiences and preferences and technology and stuff. So it should be fun. We'll be doing histograms, scatter plots, bubble plots, box plots, pie charts, bar charts, stack charts, area charts, you name it. All right, let's get into it. Again, we won't do them. We'll go pretty fast through these here, but hopefully we'll get through most of them. All right, so here's the first lab here in 10.2, just called data visualization. We'll start with this one. This is a warm-up. Looks like our lab is loading up here. All right, and we'll start in lab 16. All right, so let's go ahead and clear outputs of all cells. And we looks like we're connected, so we should be good to start running. All right, so we're going to load up our database, which is going to be the survey data. You can assume this is the same one that we made last week. And we'll make sure we have all of our libraries installed, and then we'll read in the database or the CSV and create our SQL database. Again, we're going to be practicing some of our SQL queries and checks on this too. Still waiting for our packages to finish installing here. Cool. And then we should be reading in the CSV now. Cool. So here is our big CSV. If you want to do a quick check on it, we can do a df.info and see that we have 65,000 rows, 114 columns. And again, this should track with our work that we did in week 9. All right, let's create the database. And again, we should be pulling the same 5 rows once the database is fully created. Cool, so that worked. And we can just run some basic queries. Again, we're just testing to make sure this works. So you have 65,000 rows in our SQL table. All right, we can list all the tables in our database. We only have the one. We can do some more practice queries like getting the group by age buckets, right? And we can see that a majority here are 25 to 34 years old in terms of respondents. We can describe a table, which will bring back our uh, column types and everything. We'll see here that a lot of these are coming back as strings, which is something that we may need to fix. All right, let's work through the notebook here. Notice we're going to be doing every visualization here just as kind of a warm up, and then we'll dive into some of the specific ones in the rest of the labs. So luckily, I've already done a few of these, so I will pull it up on my other monitor so I can copy paste it over. If you want to see what I'm bringing over from, it's just from my GitHub. Again, like I'll share. So you can see I've already kind of run through the notebooks and made sure that everything works and stuff. So this is what I'm going to start bringing over into the lab just so we can test it live. All right, so first up, plot a histogram of comp total of total compensation. Here's what I did for that. First, we're going to read the query, and then I'm filtering it just because there's some extreme volumes. We can comment that out though. And then from there, we can just plot it. So we're just using plit.hist to plot the histogram. And we can see you can barely see anything. And that's again due to the large volumes here. So that's why I filtered it down a little bit. So there we go. We can see that we have some of that, some buckets coming out now. Even when we did 50 bins, that was kind of crazy. We could lower this to like 12 or something. Oh, nope, we still just get one big bin right there in the middle. So yeah, you can play around with it to see what suits what looks best for you. Next, let's do our age box plot. This was kind of funky because age is stored as a text. So I created a map where I mapped them to an age. Again, kind of a weird question here. And so then when we run this, this should hopefully give me a true box plot now. So we can see this is kind of what our average age looked like. So again, I just took the average of like each of the buckets, and then I used that as part of my what I wanted to plot with matplotlib. Create a scatter plot of age to work experience. So same dealio here. We mapped age to a number, and then from there we were able to create the scatter plot against work experience. So it looks a little bit like that. We can see as age goes up, they have more work experience. Pretty cool. But it doesn't always hold true. Definitely we see some career changers here in their 40s and 50s. All right, let's get into the bubble plot. It's one of my favorite graphs. Well, not this one specifically, but I like the bubble one. Again, this is a weird one again. I'm not sure why they're having to create these graphs with when age and time are not like numbers, but it is what it is. So again, I did another map dictionary here where I'm mapping the ages to numbers and then mapping the time searching to numbers as well. And then frustration, what do I do for frustration? Frustration is like a weird column as well, so I can show you what that looks like. I'm not sure if we actually, I think it may have, yeah, I'd cut it out. Let me show you what frustration looks like because it's also a weird column. Boop, boop, boop. Well, I guess we'll let this just go first. So this is going to create my little bubble plot here. And yeah, the size of it's based on the age. And then, oh yeah, I was going to show you what frustration looked like. So yeah, it's like weird. It's like they want to get the number of frustrations reported. So yeah, I had to do like a string dot length to get the count of the frustrations in there. So again, a lot of this logic I don't think we really talked about in class. So again, I'm not sure why it's having you make some difficult visualizations. Let's just finish up this one. This is supposed to be our warm-up notebook, but again, it's using logic that I don't understand how you would actually know. Let's create a pie chart. This one's easy at least. Well, no, not really, because again, databases to work with is also a string split by semicolon. So again, I had to split by semicolon and then do a value counts on it to see what the most popular databases are. But if you do it right, you get something like this. Postgres, SQLite, MySQL, Mongo, and Redis should round out our pie chart. Let's do our couple last graphs here. Our stacked chart area charts. Again, we have to deal with the data issues with the age and the time. Do our query, and then from there we apply our buckets, and then we filter so that we're only in the age group 30 to 35, and then we're going to take the median of the time searching and time answering. I know this is in minutes, not minimum. So a lot of data cleaning just to make this graphs. We can see that most of the people here are spending most of their time searching versus answering. Last couple, let's do our line chart and our bar chart. So again, for the line chart, same dealio. Do the age and then pull the age range of 45 to 60. And then we're looking at the compensation. And wow, compensation goes up by a little bit as you get older. Create the horizontal bar chart on horizontal branches. This is the only easy one. I was like, of course they end with this one. So it's pretty easy. We just do our select star basically, and then do a value counts to get the aggregation. You could do the aggregation in the SQL query too if you wanted, and then bar H to make the horizontal bar. And then I added this little fancy thing just to make sure that all my y-axis stuff works out. Well, we can see that most people are developers by professions. All right, so that worked. Let's close our connection and we should be good to go here. So like I said, I'm hoping that you download and back these up to your own portfolio. If I wanted to download this, I would right click on the notebook and go to download. And then I can put it in my portfolio right as we go. Good stuff. So that's supposed to be our little warm up here. And then let's go in here. All right, so next comes the other activities, right? This one is going to be the histogram. Let's see, I don't have my other one. So you're going to have the histogram and box plots. We have two graphs to make or two labs to make. I think I'll skip over both of these. They're not that exciting. Um, Again, we go to our database and then we're making some of the same graphs that we saw last time. So yeah, you still have to do some mapping of your strings, but you should be able to get it to work. And then, yeah, and like I said, none of these graphs are really that interesting to me. But you can get the popularity of databases that you want to work with, and everything else. So not too bad. And the box plot is what it is as well. Yeah, we'll do 10-4. I like the scatter plots and bubble plots. And then we'll do the bar charts to end. So here's all of our box plots. Again, similar thing. You'll need to do a lot of this like finagling with the text objects, right? So making sure that those are using numbers. And so then we can look at their distributions fully correct using the box plots and violin charts, etc. All right, that's going to take us into 10-4. Let's go straight there and keep moving on. In 10.4, we're going to be looking at scatter plots and bar charts, or scatter plots and bubble charts, to do basically to look at correlations, patterns, and other conclusions that we can take from the data. So we'll start with the scatter plots. I think I'm going to do both of these notebooks, and then we'll skip on down to the bar charts, and then we'll go into Looker. So it's going to be lab 19 here. So same deal, make sure we're connected. It looks like there's nothing to clear outputs. We'll clear them anyway. And then we'll set up our environment, grab the data, and oh, it looks like we're not doing a database this time. So we're just keeping it inside of the data frame. Oh, so it looks like that worked. We can verify it worked. Where's my, why won't it let me, whatever. Well, I'll do a cell above it, df.info, just to make sure that it loaded. Yep, and it did load everything correctly. All right, so let's do the first one. Visualize the relationship between age and job satisfaction. So again, this is going to be very similar to what we did in the warm-up. We need to cast age to a number. So I just did that by taking the average of all the different groups and then assigning that through a map. And then we're able to look at the scatter plot. Notice this alpha here. This just allows us to do um, I like fades it in because if you plot the same dot over each other, they're going to like get darker, right? Because that's going to be stacked on top of each other. One other thing we could do here is we could do this as a Seaborn plot. So in Seaborn, we could do a SNS dot cat plot. Oh, did we not install Seaborn? Let's make sure we have Seaborn available. Oh my God. So we'll install Seaborn and load it up here as well. And then we should be able to do a cat plot. Uh, X equals Y equals. Let's see if that works. We shouldn't need the alpha here either. Well, so with the cat plot, you should see that it should show like a jitter, so there's no overlap. But I'm not sure why it did why it's showing that plit dot show. Oh, I guess we can't pass in the figure, maybe. Is that what it is? Yeah, all right. So there you go. So there's a little cat plot. Notice that we have a little jitter here versus if we did a scatter plot, it'll be looking like the one above, right? So up to you on how you want to do it. All right, let's keep going. Scatter plot for compensation versus job satisfaction. I'm just going to keep doing our matplotlib scatter plot with the alpha. This one was easy because this was already a number, so we could plot it like this. Let's add some regression lines. To add the regression lines, we're going to use Seaborn again. I'm going to do a regression plot here, sns.regplot with age numeric versus job points. And this should hopefully look pretty good if we do it right. And yeah, there we go. So this should be, yeah, age versus job satisfaction. A little bit of a negative correlation, but nothing I guess, blatant here. Let's keep working on here. I know we don't have that much time. So let's go for what are we plotting here? Years coding pro versus age. So again, similar thing. We had to swap out some of the numbers or some of the text for numbers for work experience, and then we can create our scatter plot. And again, we can see that as people get older, they've been coding for longer. Wow. All right, let's do some more. So the next one wants us to do a bubble plot of compensation versus job satisfaction. So similar idea here. We're doing a scatter plot of the converted comp to job satisfaction, and we're sizing it by their age. Notice this is still just a scatter plot, and the ages aren't that dramatic, which is why the sizes aren't that big of a deal, aren't that big. Scatter plot for popular programming language by job satisfaction. This one was also pretty annoying. I don't know why they're making you do such crazy logic for some of these visualizations, but it is what it is. So languages have worked with, again, this is a text list, so we have to split each one by a semicolon, and then I'm looking at the most popular languages. Then for each language, we're going to see if the row contains it, and if it does, then that's so this is for each unique languages, I guess, or for the top 10 languages. We're going to see if the row contains it and then grab the average job satisfaction for that row. Easy. So let's see how it looks when we actually do it. Like something like this. And this actually like this validated my opinion. So actually I was like Python was low on here for job satisfaction. TypeScript's higher. Um, C Sharp, JavaScript, HTML. So SQL's a little bit higher, and but there's not really that much difference. 23 to 25. I think there's just a lower job satisfaction overall. All right, let's write our couple last ones here. Scatter plot versus across groups. So in this one here, we are again filtering for all of our different employment groups, right? This is just going to be, you could just take that from the N unique for employment as well. I'll show you how I did that. I was like df dot employment dot unique. Oh my God. So there's all the different ones here, but we just pulled a few of them, right? This employed part-time, or maybe I should do value counts here. Yeah, so some of our top are like employment full-time, independent contractor. Let me do a dot head 10 on this. Yeah, those are our most popular ones. So that's kind of where I took this, right? So similar idea. We checked to see if the row matched. If it did, then we grabbed and added the scatter trace to our graph. So again, kind of tough logic, but ends up looking something like this. If you do it right, you can break it all out by the employment status. And again, the compensation seems pretty skewed, but it is what it is. I probably want to break this down a little bit too by location and age. All right, let's see. Next, we're going to be looking at work experience across ages by country. So pretty similar to what I just said I wanted to do next. Again, similar deal. We're looking at the top countries. We're then filtering our rows down to just those top 5 countries, grabbing the age and work experience, adding that as a trace. So we should have 5 traces here, one for each of the 5 countries, and then add in our metadata. So it ends up looking something like this. We can see all the pretty colors kind of mapping to USA, Germany, India, UK, and the Ukraine. All right, pretty cool. Let me download that. I'm actually running a little bit short on time here, so I think we'll skip bubble plots and just go straight down to bar charts. I'll show you what some of these other ones look like though. The bubble plots aren't too difficult. It's pretty similar to what we just did for scatter plots, right? You have to be able to create your maps. I just love looking at them because I like to see the different sizes and everything. And so again, it's gonna look pretty similar to what we just did. Again, there's some dumb stuff you have to do by like finding each of the languages and databases and parsing each of those out of the semicolon list. But look how pretty this looks. I thought this was pretty cool. You could see that like some I was gonna see, I guess they didn't do C sharp and stuff. I guess they got TypeScript. But yeah, I think just so many people in their 20s and 30s responded to the survey, they're dominating this. But there's ways to be able to visualize these bubbles where you can see that uh SQL Server with the highest job satisfaction. This way you see that like older folks are using different languages and have different job satisfactions and stuff like that. Looking at compensation by developer role, yeah, back-end infrastructure, yeah, and hardware guys, yeah, they're the only ones that know what they're doing. And then, yeah, everything else, dev experience, cloud infrastructure, right? They just still get paid all about the same. So yeah, a lot of fun graphs here. I like the bubble charts a little bit more than the scatter plots. But yeah, then you're going to keep running through. You'll see that then you're going to create some pie charts and stacks charts to look for percent of whole and compare differences. So again, that's very similar to what we did in the warm up for creating the pie charts. A lot of lists that you have to then split, explode, and aggregate, and then shove into your pie charts. So again, I'll give you the full creative license, right, to use your own colors, to use your own labels, to use your own titles. Really try and make some of these visualizations your own, right? Don't just uh, don't just set with the defaults and call it a day. This is your portfolio. This is your capstone. You should be proud of what you create. And again, like when we put some of these in the slide deck, only choose the ones that matter most to you in terms of your analysis, right? You don't have to put every single image and slide deck into the presentation. Yeah, there's some good ones here. Again, the logic can be kind of annoying of having to do this like split explode for all of our lists, but again, I'm sure you'll survive. All right, let's jump to our last one here, which is going to be bar charts. We're going to do a lot of bar charts in the slide deck. It asks for a lot of bar charts. So I'm hoping that a few of these are here. And again, like don't feel like you have to be locked in to what the slides are recommending. I want you to pick and choose, analyze your results, and only like show and showcase this data story of insights that you feel is powerful. We'll close up on line charts real quick. Again, I have the full notebook that I ran on my personal like last week. So you'll see similar stuff. You have to basically do some aggregations, convert numeric stuff. It's all pretty similar. And again, they're doing a line chart here. Line charts are typically used to show change over time. So this is kind of our proxy for time based on age. And again, you'll see that as you get more work experience and as you get older, you get more compensation. Let's see. I thought this was a little bit interesting. You'll see that there's a lot of chaos here at the end on the right in terms of job satisfaction. It bounces around a lot. And that's mostly because there's not a lot of responses. So sample size can create noise. And I want you to kind of get that from this graph, that there is not a lot of people responding. Again, most people that are responding are in their 20s and 30s to the survey. So when you have less people responding, you have more noise, less signal, and more variability. And that's kind of what we see in that graph. You'll see that a lot as we get to the lower age groups as well, right? But other than that, it looks pretty good. Again, as you work and get more experience, you typically get higher compensation, and you also have less job satisfaction as well. All right, so let's move into the bar chart example. And then we'll move into the Looker dashboard and our big ideas and close us out. No quiz this week, so that's exciting. There's no quiz for week 10. I don't think we need Seaborn, but I'm gonna install it anyway. And let's go import Seaborn as SNS. So similar deal, we're gonna load in our imports, which should already be already installed, and then we're gonna load in our CSV. Should be the same one that we've been playing around with all class so far. And from there, we're going to start building out our bar charts. So it looks like we're good to go here. First one, I'm just going to be, yeah, we're going to start this. I'm just going to start slamming these out. First, let's do our histogram. We're looking at the histogram of compensation. Again, I'm excluding some of the crazy outliers and end up with something pretty cool that looks like this. We can definitely see our big clump around 60 to 70K and then kind of our long right tail. We can create a box plot of age. Again, this is going to use our age map that we've used a few times already today. And if we run that, we should be able to see, again, this distribution that most people and their average age are going to be in their 30s. or low 30s. Let's do our example scatter plot and bubble chart, which again we've already kind of reviewed a few times. First, we want to scatter age numeric versus the compensation. And again, similar idea. We have some people that are making a ton, and it should be more that like as your age goes up, you should be making more as well. Let's also look at the same graph with job satisfaction as a bubble. I feel like we've made the same graph like 3 times already. So again, feel free to reuse code across your notebooks. You don't have to start each one of these from scratch. All right, to keep going, now we're getting into the real good stuff here. Let's create our bar charts. So here's one from the warm-up, the horizontal bar chart of the main branch. We'll see when you run that, we see that most people are developers. Let's just do a vertical bar chart of the programming languages people want to work with. And we see that most people want to work with Python, then JavaScript and SQL. That should track with one of the things here, right? I don't think we broke this down by year. I don't think you can break this down by year. I'm pretty sure all of the survey data is 2024. So again, like don't feel like you have to stick to these requests. I don't think that it even gives you all the information there. Again, try and make the slides your own, use the graphs your own. All you need to do for the slide deck is translate the visualizations we make in week 10, as well as the methodology and data cleaning that we did in week 9, translate that into an actionable data story. All right, let's look at our stacked bars. Again, what we're looking at here is age to job satisfaction, and we're looking at job satisfaction 6 and 7s. And we can see that here's what that looks like for age. And again, as you get older, they typically have more satisfaction points and stuff like that. But everyone's pretty much about the same in terms of their satisfaction. We have more 7s from people that are older or from people early in their careers. Let's look at the bar chart for popular databases. This is similar to what they wanted for the popular language. So again, similar thing, right? You got to split, explode the list, and then aggregate it. And then we can get something like this. Postgres, MySQL, SQLite, SQL Server, Mongo, Redis, they're all up here as popular databases that are used. Finally, we can compare different data sets using grouped bar charts. This was kind of weird because I don't think and this first question didn't even really ask for a grouped bar chart. Usually group bar charts are like side by side bar charts. But again, this is just looking at age groups, and that's it. So our x-axis is just the age groups, and then we're looking at the median compensation. So this ends up just being a regular bar chart instead of a grouped bar chart, but I guess it uses the age groups. Again, don't overthink or overanalyze the instructions or the requests in the slides. And the last one here, when I look at the number of respondents by country, and again, this should be pretty similar to what we saw earlier. USA, Germany, India, UK, and Ukraine should be topping our list. I would almost say this would be a better as a horizontal bar chart. So let's actually do that. I'm going to change this to a bar H. There you go. So that maybe we can flip it. Whoops, I guess ascending equals true. Whoops, can't spell either. There we go. So now we have our horizontal bar chart of the most popular countries. Looks good to me. We can download this. So again, your goal here for the first half of week 10, work your way through each of the notebooks. Hopefully they don't take you too long, as I'm pretty sure most of them are copy paste with a lot of the logic. So once you sort out that logic with like the text mappings to numbers, they should go by pretty quick. All right, so that should hopefully finish up the labs. Again, you need to then take screenshots or download some of these visualizations or save the visualizations using plit.save from matplotlib and stuff. And then you're going to copy some of these into your final slide deck, right? So just something like that. And then we can save it or copy it or whatever. Uh, chart bring shows. Cool. And then you can shove that into your slide deck and stuff. All right, awesome. Let's keep grinding through the rest of the classroom. So I do want to review some of the Looker stuff, even though I know we don't have a ton of time here. Definitely try and participate in the discussion forum if you haven't already. Um, I've already updated the lounge with a few things, as well as plopped in my thoughts around data visualization. Again, like how do you think about the types of charts, the communication, the design choices that you make, right? And again, as you start making your own graphs, again, you have creative liberty here. Add in your own titles, labels, categories, things like that, right? Clean it all up, make it all look good, and do it your own way, right? Don't feel like you're locked in exactly to the notebooks or exactly into the slides. All right, and then like I said, in the lounge, you'll see that I posted our week 10 preview launch from last week, earlier in the week. And then we also have our recap preview video from the weekend. And then I also put in our week 3 lecture since it references Looker, which we're going to get into right now. All right, I got about 10 minutes, so let's see how fast we can go here. That takes us to Unit 2, building the dashboard. So our goal here is to try and build out some dashboards here. Let's see if we can figure out how to do this. I'm going to do next activity in the new tab. All right, so engage with this guided. I think we already set up our guided tour. I think we did that in week 3. Yeah, I already did all that. So we can jump straight into our tool here. Oh yeah, the word cloud. I skipped over that in the lecture too, but you should have done that earlier. I also don't really care about the word cloud that much. How do we get that survey results updated CSV file? Mm. CSV that we would need for this. Let me check one of my notes as well. Not giving me the data set either. I'm just going to download the original data set and see if that helps us. Okay, well, we'll see how we do because I think that this data set is not gonna work in Looker. All right. Well, we'll download the CSV. This is like a big download. Yeah, I know that's gonna kill the kernel. What- Hopefully that downloaded. Oh my God. Of course I would. I have it. I think I have it locally, so we should be able to try it out. I actually, yeah, I think I have it locally. All right, so let's go to Looker and let's see if we can get this to work. We'll see how much we can do here in the time that we have. So let's create a new data source, and I'm gonna do a file upload, and I'm gonna connect to a new data set. We'll just call this Stack Overflow. And it's gonna be, let's go find it. Module 10. Let's just choose the survey data. All right, so I do have it up. Oh, maximum data set size is 100 meg. All right, so we can't even upload the CSV. Okay. Um, Interesting. I should have looked at Looker before recording this. Let me know if you're watching this, if you were able to find that CSV or those CSV files for Looker. I may have to do some digging on my own and do a follow-up survey here. Do a follow-up recording. Yeah, so the problem if you're following along with me right now is that the data set for Looker, it says to download the survey results updated CSV files, but I don't have a link to those files. Yeah, this is the one of the labs from week 3 that walk us through word clouds. And then this other one is just the introduction to Looker. So these are the same links that, again, if you watch the week 3 lecture, this is what I reviewed in week 3. Um, we definitely don't have the CSV though. Let me check what we put in week 9. I don't think we ended up with survey data distributed. What do you think that looks like? Finding how the data is distributed. We have the popular language one. I can't remember when we created this one, but this is not the right data set either. All right, I may just have to pause it here, just because I have a hard out in like 5 minutes. But I will spend some time tonight seeing where this CSV exists and see if I can do a follow-up recording to this lecture. Oh my God, we don't need to see all the students and stuff in here. I'll see if I can do a follow-up to this lecture with whether or not I can make this Looker dashboard at all. Okay, I think we'll have to leave it here and I will take some time. I guess just to finish closing this out, um, I'm making sure to check the downloads. Nope. The last bit in Unit 3 is just watch some videos about how to create a good data report. I do recommend watching these videos if you are able to create a README or write-up to supplement your slide deck. You can definitely take some advice from here, as well as best practices for creating your slide deck. We have some examples of how to create PowerPoints, how to arrange PowerPoints, how to use visualizations in your slides and everything. I think I'll have a couple of these documents. I'll download these right now too. So I'll shove this in GitHub. Hopefully this downloads. We'll just download it. We'll do intro to PowerPoint. All right. Again, I don't really care if you use PowerPoint or if you use Google Slides. I'll leave that as a choice for you to make. But again, I'll make sure that I upload all of these PowerPoint notes to to GitHub just so you have it. So you got the basics, the intro, and then I think that the one more on saving your slide deck as a PDF. So like usually I have my students just do this as Google Slides. So again, I don't really care how you do it. All right, and I'll make sure that I drop these into GitHub or at least these PowerPoint notes. All right, so I guess we'll leave it there. Again, to submit the only thing you have to submit for the capstone is going to be the slide deck. And again, you have full freedom to update the slide deck as you need to. Your goal is to synthesize the visualizations that you make in the first half of week 10, as well as the EDA from week 9, and the dashboard if you're able to create one with Looker. We'll grab those here. And then if you do have a GitHub with your backed up notebooks or a public Looker dashboard, please include those as well. Like I said, as a fast follow on my end, I'm going to see if I can find what data sets they want you to specifically use for Looker. And if I can grab them, then I will do a follow-up lecture to this where I walk through the Looker creation. There's no quiz for week 10, so watch my other videos if you need help reviewing the quiz. I did the quiz for weeks 3 through 9, and if I back record 1 and 2 this week, then I'll put all those the quiz at the end of those lectures too. Big ideas for week 10. We're turning our data analysis into a final data story. We're not just making charts, we're turning those charts into insights that stakeholders can use for business decision making. This is the communication layer of the capstone. Last week was all about preparing. This week is about communicating and showing and consuming the results of your analysis. And this should be a full data pipeline, a full workflow, going from collecting the data to cleaning it up, creating visualizations, building out interactive dashboards, and summarizing and presenting final results. This is literally what you have to do as a data analyst in the real world. Make sure you understand that choosing the right graph or the right question is most important. Understand the difference between distributions, relationships, percent of whole, change over time, and categorical comparisons. We did play around with SQL this week as well, so make sure you understand Python and SQL and how they connect and how SQL can tie into the analytics workflow and visualization pipeline. There's a lot of ugly data this week, so we walked through a lot of garbage in, garbage out. If you spend the time to create a good consumption layer data set, your visualizations will be happy. Otherwise, your vises can become biased and misleading. Matplotlib, Seaborn, Looker go from static to interactive visualizations and dashboards. And then finally, communicating back to your stakeholders. This is most important. How do you take technical analytical workflows and conclusions and present them in a way that executives and less technical stakeholders can understand? And again, the whole implication here is actionable insights, right? How do you actually drive recommendations and decision making? And then don't forget to show your work. This also is helpful for defending your own approach and you're defending your own conclusions. I would love to see as much as you can with your notebooks, your repository, summaries, documentation, screenshots, readmes, etc. And everything connects, right? We're bringing everything in the entire course together, going from Python to Pandas to SQL to Matplotlib and Seaborn to Looker to slides and GitHub, right? Going from collecting data all the way to communicating recommendations. This is real world data. This is a real world analytical workflow. And this whole Capstone project should encapsulate what you would really literally have to do as a data analyst in the real world. All right, I think that's all I got for this week. Thanks, everybody. Like I said, if I find that data set, then I will do a follow-up here on the Looker dashboard. Otherwise, I will see you all in our week 10 recap video later this week and looking forward to grading your final presentations. And obviously, if we can't figure out how to make the Looker dashboards, you're not going to lose points for not having a Looker dashboard. But again, I will try and sort that out tonight ASAP, and I'll post in the forums. All right, thanks all. Please reach out with any questions, and I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks, everybody. It's been a pleasure having you following along in our live sessions for the course. All right, take care. We'll talk soon. Bye.